Hello and welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast of Jackson and Kyle. I am Jackson, and I'm joined here, as always, by the man who, much like Aaron Rodgers, is unsure if he'll play in the NFL in 2025. Kyle, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Unlikely I'm going to play in the NFL in 2025, but I'm going to try my best, and we'll
You
see how
haven't
I
ruled
go
it
from
out
there.
yet.
No, I haven't ruled it out. If anyone wants to sign me, give me a call. I'll play.
Although the Jets are not your preferred destination.
No, I think I'd stay retired at that point.
You would say, if you had an opportunity to play for the Jets, you'd say no.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Yeah, okay. Kyle, we have a lot to get into. It is the Thanksgiving show. Tomorrow we have Thanksgiving, which you're on record saying that's your favorite holiday.
It's a good one. I like Thanksgiving food. I like eating. I like watching football. I like pretending to spend time with my family. It checks all the boxes.
Yes. All right. Well, checks all the boxes. We could do this for forever, but we do have to get into this because we have 16 games to cover. Let's start off with as always, with the Monday night game, which I picked Baltimore to win this game heading into it. Early on, you're starting to wonder, like, okay, is what's wrong with Baltimore? There's a lot of chatter. Really, I mean, they had one drive get killed because of a penalty. Another drive got killed with a receiver falling down on third down. Other than that, they pretty much just ran the table offensively after that. So, I mean, it was it's this Ravens offense is just doing what it does. Seemingly it'll have the off week or two. And again, the Ravens fans are just hoping that doesn't come late January like it has been for them over the years. But as of right now, it's hard to bet against this team.
Yeah. No, the offense checked all the boxes in this game. I thought they did everything they wanted to. Like you said, a bit of a slow start, so maybe it's not their best performance, but it was still a very good performance. They got everything going early. They kept Derrick Henry involved in this game. Lamar Jackson was as efficient as ever, continues to do his thing, have his MVP campaign. I don't really have any, I would say no notes other than, quit committing dumb penalties, because that's the only thing that really kind of kept this close as far as their offense goes. And then, I still think the defense did have some struggles, although I thought they played better this week for sure. I thought they handled things a little bit better, but they still struggled in spurts, and that's how the Chargers were able to get to 23.
Yeah, I thought they fought in this one. We also had, it was an interesting game. I mean, I think I had some takeaways. Like, I was surprised to see the Ravens offense do this well against this defense. Like, this is the Chargers defense that has been playing great against everybody, and it didn't seem like it mattered too much in this game.
I get it. I just think the tough thing with the Ravens is, like, even a great defense is going to struggle to contain this just because of the nature of the playmakers. It's very hard to contain.
That's my point, really. I'm not saying anti-Chargers. I'm more saying pro-Ravens.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree with it but I think I came into this day that, like, on its best day, this Ravens offense is borderline unstoppable. We just don't see their best day all the time, and that's the issue.
Yeah. I also have to say, my last thought is, can we stop pretending Lamar Jackson isn't the MVP? Like, he's been the best quarterback in football this year. Like, he's been the most valuable player in football this year. I feel like it's one of those weird things where, like, it's almost like sometimes, like, someone gets, like, an Oscar for just being, like, a favorite, like, it's like a career-defining Oscar, and then the next year they actually deserve it, but then they don't have a chance of winning it. I feel that's where Lamar is at. It's like he probably didn't deserve it last year, but now, like, he's definitely deserving it. But because we gave it to him last year, now it's almost like we're trying to give it to someone else.
Yeah. I mean, what is the argument for anybody else? The only argument to me that makes sense is Joe Burrow, and that you would just have to say you don't care about winning.
Yeah, but even that, I think Lamar's been better in like most, like, if you to say Joe Burrow, you have to be paying close attention to this stuff, and if you're paying close attention to this stuff, you're probably still leaning Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. Yeah. If Burrow was, like, running away with it, that'd be one thing. But I even think then he wouldn't get the MVP award unless the Bengals make the playoffs. So maybe it happens, but not. But I think that unless the Bengals can right the ship, this is a one-man race at this point. He is laps ahead of everybody else who's in contention. Like I said, besides Joe Burrow.
Yeah. Let's move on. We'll talk more about these teams because every team plays this week. Kyle, I extended my lead. I'm now got a 2-point lead, not by a lot, but extended it a little.
Yeah, not not what I wanted to see, but this is my week. I'm gonna nail it. Thanksgiving week is my time, and I'm ready to go.
This is your week. This is like a home game for you.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it. So that's where I'm at.
Okay, Kyle, give me a game.
Yeah. Uh, divisional matchup. Two, I still think pretty good teams despite one of the records. Steelers at Bengals.
Yep, this was first on my list as well. Which I was hopeful I wouldn't have to pick this one because it's not the closest line. Yeah, I mean the Bengals are 2.5 point favorites. I'm a little bit surprised by that. I think I'm gonna pick the underdog Steelers here. I mean, the Steelers have a history of making Joe Burrow look not very good. Now, did he do it this year? I don't know. But like, I don't trust this Bengals defense at all. I trust kind of both sides of the Steelers, and like the one side that you trust of the Bengals usually doesn't play well against the Steelers. So, well,
Yeah.
I understand why the Bengals are favored at home. I can't pick them over Pittsburgh right now. I just can't.
Yeah. I mean the argument would be that like this offense has looked unstoppable. Bengals are basically playing for their lives at this point. Nothing else
Mhm.
matters. However, Steelers still want to win this division. They have the one loss advantage over Baltimore. They need to keep winning games. This is still a big game for them. So I think it could go either way. It is a close line for a reason. It is a divisional matchup for a reason. It is funny though that the Steelers team's just wildly frustrating like at all times, but they dominate Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow. Like
Yeah.
those are the guys that like they just have those two's number. So it is a funny subplot to this game, and they've done very well against this team. Like you said, they've had a lot of success. So I think I would lean Steelers too.
I mean, you think about this. I mean, part of it too is just like the Bengals at least make sense because they've always had awful offensive lines, and the Steelers have always had T.J. Watt. It feels well, not always, but they've had him for the past every since Burrow has got there. So like that's a part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean they're able to rush the passer. They have those edge guys, and yeah, I mean Watt can be a one man wrecking crew. So absolutely, it's a huge part of it. And I think this secondary for the Steelers has played pretty well too. Honestly, like even like the guys, the thing with the Steelers is like the guys we had the biggest questions on heading into this season. I think have all checked the boxes. Maybe secondary receiver still the thing we're kind of waiting for, but I think everybody else has been pretty darn good.
Who do you have winning this game?
I would pick Steelers. I think it's
Yeah.
going to be a another close one. Like a 2017 game feels like a Steelers game.
Yeah. And I would say as well, I mean, my last thought on this isn't a meaningless game for Pittsburgh. Even forget about the division. I think they're going to make the playoffs. They're 8-3, and I think they're just a good enough team to rack up a few more wins. But like, there still is that like they have to make sure they pull off these wins. They can't just
Mhm.
they can't screw around because you play the Bengals twice, the Eagles, the Ravens, and the Chiefs. They do get another Browns game in there, but they already lost to the Browns this year. So there's no guaranteed win, and there's some games they're going to be underdogs in. So got to make sure they can pick up wins when they can.
Yeah, no bye week left for them. They already had it week 9, so this is just straight games from here on out. And like you said, really competitive games. These are all really good teams that they're about to face, and Cleveland, who, like you said, just beat them.
Yeah. Let's move on. Kyle, I'm giving you the game of the week, the game we're here to talk about. Colts Patriots. The rivalry continues. Anthony Richardson versus Drake May. Who do you got?
Oh boy. Yeah, this is probably a good pick by you. I'm gonna take the Colts, and I think I'm gonna lock up the Colts.
Oh,
I like what they.
is this the first time one of us has locked up against our favorite team?
Yeah, I'm just so fed up with this defense. Like, I just can't do it. I know the Colts are the Colts, but like, this would not shock me if Anthony Richardson just goes nuts in this game. We don't have the linebackers to contain him, just straight up. Like, we just don't. Like, Jelani Tavai trying to cover him in like spy situations, we're probably going to deploy a lot of the similar game plan we had with Caleb Williams, and that involved Brendan Schooler, our special teams ace, coming in on third downs to play quarterback spy. That's not the situation I want to be in. So yeah, I think that's a bit of a problem. Um, I think Christian Gonzalez is having a fantastic season, and he's probably going to do his job in one-on-one scenarios. But they're also doing weird stuff with him. They're not always putting him on the best receivers, so I don't even expect him to be on Michael Pittman for the majority of this game. So I don't know how that's going to work. And yeah, I'm just not very optimistic with this defense getting stops, even though this Colts offense has been very hit or miss this season. So I think the Colts can win by field goal.
Interesting. I understand it. I think that I also have the Colts winning. Kyle, knowing your luck, the Colts are going to win by like one, and your
Yeah.
team will still lose, but also you'll lose the lock. I think the reason why I would be concerned is the Anthony Richardson factor. I mean, you brought up that the Patriots did play Caleb Williams very well. Richardson, who we don't need to get into it every week, he's been very up and down. I think that's fair to say, and usually in the same game, he's very up and down. I think that I do agree that like the Colts are just more competent in pretty much every area of football, but like. And it's not like Drake May won't put the ball in harm's way, but I think that there is more volatility on the Colts side.
There is a lot of volatility still, and that's because of this group. But I also think like this should just be a game that they like if they want to win and still try and make the playoffs, like Jonathan Taylor has to get 25, 30 carries a game.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's just no excuse for it at this point. He has to be involved in the offense. He has to be the focal point of the offense and then play off of him. And I think like especially a team like this just has not defended the run very well. They don't have very good defensive tackles, although Barmore is kind of working his way up to speed. Like they just don't really have the personnel to defend much of anybody right now, especially without Jawan Bentley out there. And you have to run the ball. You have to punish him on the ground. We saw Miami do that last week and then also throw it, almost perfectly too. I guess the one thing you look at for the Patriots because there's just it hasn't even just been like the bad coverage or bad defense. It's also like just a lot of like busted coverages at times and like miscommunications. And so like Anthony Richardson could definitely hit the deep shot and hit the big plays. So can they contain those? There is a chance to get Jabril Peppers and Kyle Duggar back this week. Maybe that helps their safety room, having those guys back on the field. But it's still kind of hit or miss for me. I just don't know if it's going to be enough.
Yeah. If you're the Patriots, I don't know. I know the Colts have gotten a lot better defensively. They've given up some deep shots this season. Throw some bombs, right? Let's see what Drake May's got.
Yeah, he's thrown a few, but like they've been a little hit or miss. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind taking a few shots downfield. I wouldn't mind trying to get Jalen Polk some touches and see what happens. I mean, it's late in the season. You're 3-9. You got to see if you got anything in this kid. Maybe get Javon Baker on the field some because he is supposed to be a big play threat and he's barely touched the field outside of special teams. So maybe get him out there. Keyshawn Butte has done a really good job too. So, I just want to see some of these guys involved and make some plays.
Yeah. Let's move on. And we don't have to spend forever on that game, despite the fact that it is, one of the games of the week. Kyle, give me one.
Giants Cowboys.
Okay. Interesting. This was a lot lower on my list. I understand it because I mean these are two teams that have looked horrible as of late, but we just saw one of these teams beat the Commanders. The other one looked absolutely awful against a Buccaneers team that I think we both feel like is good, but not Super Bowl caliber, at least not as of right now. I'm picking I'm picking the Cowboys to win. I think the Cowboys have looked more competent as of late. Tommy DeVito was banged up. So I think the worst case scenario is if an injured Tommy DeVito is out there playing. That doesn't seem like an ideal situation. I feel like I trust the team that to me looks like they're actively trying to win football games, and that's Dallas right now, even though they're not trying that hard.
Yeah. I hear the argument. I think my argument for the Giants is that they're actually going to play their better quarterback because it seems like they're forced to at this point. Unless they do decide to play Tim Boyle. I guess that is a possibility.
Didn't we play another Thanksgiving game? I feel like I have that memory.
So.
I think with the Lions, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that sounds like something that probably happened.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, no, I think Drew Lock's going to play. It seems like Drew Lock's going to play. And I actually think that puts him in a better position to win. But there are concerns, obviously. First of all, Dallas is still a better team despite not being that good. I'm not going to overreact to one Dallas game. I still think that this is a team that's shown that they're flawed and can be beaten. And, I don't think it's crazy to say the Giants can win the game that way. However, if you're just looking at just the matchups, I think the biggest thing to be concerned about is, number one, you're looking at no Andrew Thomas, obviously, for the majority of this season. No Jermaine Illuminor now, who he is still ruled out. And, I actually think he's a pretty good tackle, too, in his own right. And you got Market Parsons coming to town. That is a huge mismatch when it's going to be Evan Neal and, is it Chris Hubbard, I guess, is their starting tackle now? That's a problem. Number two, we've talked a lot about the corners for this Giants team. They're not good. CeeDee Lamb's coming to town. So that's mismatch number two. And so, yeah, I think if you're arguing Dallas, it's like their two biggest strengths are going against the Giants' biggest weaknesses. but I also think a banged up Dallas offensive line, a less than convincing quarterback in Cooper Rush, who's an okay backup, but just a backup against a good Giants defensive line. I think this game's going to be kind of ugly.
Oh yeah, I mean this feels like just whoever turns the ball over least is probably going to win. You look at the kind of the weakness of both of these teams. I feel like it's like they can give up stuff down the field easily, or really just they can't cover that well. Do you trust either of these quarterbacks to take advantage of that? Again, if you're Drew Lock, kind of like I said with Drake May, it's like you got to just be chucking the ball down the field here. Get a lot of Malik Neighbors targets here. Go back to what you were doing week 1 and 2 with Daniel Jones in there of just like letting him be like target him 50% of the time.
Hey, Drew Lock is not afraid to throw the ball downfield, man. He is going to be ready to. He's going to be ready to sling that thing. So he's going to be out there. He's going to throw the ball downfield, and there's still playmakers on this Giants team. Tyrone Tracy has had a very good season, so I think they got a few pieces here that it's not crazy that they hit some shots on this Cowboys defense.
Yeah, I agree. Let's move on. Why don't we? Ugly start to the show, Kyle. Going from Colts Patriots to Giants Cowboys, and we need to get a good game. I'll give a good game. Let's go to one of the games of the week. Dolphins at Packers. This is on Thanksgiving night. Kyle, who do you have winning?
Dolphins Packers. This is going to be a good one. I'm very much looking forward to this. I think it could go either way. It's a good pick by you. I am going to lean Green Bay. I think this defense has got what it takes. I think they're going to be able to do enough. I think Miami has played better week by week. I think they played very well last week, but I still think they give up some big plays defensively, and I think Green Bay has the playmakers to be able to attack them. So I'm going to go with Green Bay on the win, and I think it's going to be a close one.
Yeah, I think I'm interested in it. I mean, I agree. The Packers defense has looked a lot better, but so has this Dolphins offense. I mean, Tua has kind of quietly put together like the best month of his career recently. Like he's been playing outstanding football. Is he going? Like, can I? And I feel like it's a good matchup. It's interesting where these two teams are very similar, right? They kind of are coached this exact same way essentially. So like, what's the in a way, I do think that both teams are kind of built to it. I especially think the Dolphins are built to attack this Packers defense. I just think that Packers defense kind of has just a bit more guys there, though. So it should be an interesting matchup.
Yeah. Jair Alexander is out. That's a big thing. However, like I think the way this Packers defense is set up, like, the big thing is not letting Tyreek Hill take the roof off your defense, right? You have to contain him at least a little bit on the downfield plays. That is still a big thing when it comes to playing Miami. And I kind of think, I don't know if this is a hot take. I mean, I think Xavier McKinney's been at least one of the best deep safeties in the league this season, if not the best. I think he's been really good, just making plays for this team, covering the deep part of the field and containing those big plays. And that's been a huge part of the Packers development, along with, a whole other, number of things, including improved, run defense, stuff like that at times. So I think that's just going to be a huge thing, is his ability to contain Tyreek Hill on those deep balls. And if they're able to do that, I think this defense can compete with anybody, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, the Giants are going to let a offensive player of the year and defensive player of the year candidate walk out the door last offseason.
Yeah. Yeah, they really did. What a time.
Yeah, no, I think McKinney's going to win an all pro probably. I mean, he's playing outstanding. I agree. It is fascinating. The other side of the ball is this Packers offense, which it's schemed up so well. Jordan Love is looking like he's last year Jordan Love again. I do feel for this Dolphins defense that started to play a lot better as of late as well. It's I think currently ranked around 10th in points per drive defensively. I mean, that's an interesting matchup as well.
Yeah. No, it really is. This Packers offense at its best has looked very good. It's another one where they are missing a playmaker too. They are missing Dobbs, but like we've seen, Josh Jacob last week carried a lot of that offense. We've seen Christian Watson hit some big plays. Tucker Kraft's been a huge red zone target for them. Dontavion Wicks, Jaden Reed. Obviously, I've established that he's just an elite playmaker. It feels like at times at this point, he is just a big play machine for this offense. And yeah, I think it's a lot to deal with. I think that there's still a lot of really good pieces in this Miami secondary, in this group, that should be able to contain some of it. But how do you account for everything? How do they account for guys like Jaden Reed in the slot doing all those different things? How does a guy like Javon Holland in the red zone handle a guy like Tucker Kraft? How are they able to can they contain all of it? And, we've seen the way to stop the Packers offense right now is to force Jordan Love into mistakes, which he has done, but could it happen?
Yeah, should be interesting. We need this game to be close, right? I mean, because we're gonna have if the Bears can make the early game competitive, okay, cool. But that game's gonna probably be one sided. No one even who cares about the Cowboys Giants. We need this game to be good.
Yeah, no, this is the game. We're gonna be in a food coma by the time this game starts, but we need it to be decent.
Yes, I agree. This might be the week where you take a nap after during the Giants Cowboys wake up for Dolphins
Yeah.
Packers.
Yeah, that's fair. Do you think the Packers can make the Super Bowl?
Sure. Yeah, I think so. I mean, do I think that they're going to? I mean, they're certainly not favorites over. I think at best they're the third best. I think them and Minnesota are kind of 3A and 3B there. But yeah, I mean, if you're that close, absolutely, you could make the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think they're pretty close too. I mean, I think I've been a little bit higher on them lately than you. That's why I was curious getting your take on that one. I do think that Philadelphia has proven that they're above them at this point, but I don't think it's crazy this team does it either.
I think the issue that I have is you look at the Eagle. What they're probably going to have to do is, as a wild card, they'll have to win three. Almost certainly, they'll have to win 3 games on the road, unless another wild card team, goes off. I mean, Green Bay could technically still get the division. They're two games back, and they play the Lions again this season, but it seems unlikely. And then, are you going to be able to go into? You'll probably go into Detroit. And then go into Philadelphia. Those are two teams that I think have better supporting cast, and I think they have better quarterbacks than Jordan Love. So I think it's the odds are not zero, but I don't know if they're overly high.
Yeah. Yeah, they're going to need a break, I think. They're going to need someone to up Detroit or something like that, or maybe, upset Philadelphia, but, I think if they get the 5 seed over Minnesota, I think they can do it.
Yeah, and I think that would help. I mean, probably they'd have to be the one to upset Detroit, right? That's kind of the issue because they probably played them in the divisional round. So we'll see. Right. But yeah, it's possible. I don't know. I'm not quite there. They're clearly in my tier rankings. I put them in the dark horse tier. They're clearly a tier below the championship contenders, in my opinion, but just one tier below.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move on then. That was my game I gave you. Now time for you to give me a game.
All right, we're going to get off Thanksgiving football for a little bit here, and we are going to go to another great game this week. Looking forward to this one. Another one with a lot of stakes because all of these NFC West teams have a lot of stakes in their games. Let's go Cardinals at Vikings.
Okay. Again, interesting. There's 2 games of under a 2-point spread that neither one of us are giving. Partially because I think correctly so, because those games maybe shouldn't have those spreads. But Cardinals, Vikings. Yeah, I'm picking the Vikings. This is good. This was actually also next on my list. I think that the X factor is the Kyler Murray thing of if he can get the ball down the field, if he can take care of some of these one-on-one matchups, you could see a Cardinals team putting up some points. I think the reason why I still like Minnesota, though, is I just really trust this Vikings offense. And yes, Darnold puts the ball in harm's way. He actually had 2 dropped interceptions when I went back and watched the game. He had 2 dropped interceptions last week in a game that he pretty much was perfect other than that. I still feel like Arizona needs to win the turnover battle to win this game. I think it's possible that happens, but I'm not going to bet on a team that needs to win the turnover battle to win the game.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I obviously agree. I think Minnesota's defense is still the strongest unit of this team. I still think I look at Arizona's defense and say, yeah, I think they've played better than expected this season, but I wouldn't classify them as a good defense either. And I just look at this team and say, okay, they got to cut for Justin Jefferson. So either one of the 2 things that we've seen against Minnesota is going to happen. We've seen teams try and play him straight up, and Justin Jefferson kind of gets his and makes every big catch, it feels like, in the game. Or you put a lot of influence on stopping Justin Jefferson, and you saw last week Jordan Addison and CJ Hawkinson had huge games, and they dominated. So yeah, I think that's a bit of an issue for them. But that being said, I think the Vikings are the better team anyways, and I think that's going to be a huge thing. I think the big matchup I'm looking at is, like you said, there is the Kyler Murray factor of this thing because he can make some magic happen. We know Minnesota's defense. We know their defensive game plan. We've talked about it a lot. If they can't contain Kyler Murray in the pocket on those blitzes, which is a huge part of blitzing. You have to be able to contain too, especially with these mobile quarterbacks. If they can't
Mhm.
contain him in the pocket, he's going to hit big plays because he will create a mismatch with his legs and make something happen. But if they contain him, I think Minnesota's defense could shut him down. So I think it's a huge part.
Yeah. I was interested, so I looked at it. Kyler Murray is actually significant. It's something I should be doing every week. Really is looking at blitz versus not blitz against the quarterback that's playing the Vikings. Kyler Murray, this is a little bit of outdated data, but a few weeks ago when I did this, he was one of the biggest swings from being good when he's not blitzed, not so good when he is blitzed. So there's a huge advantage
Mhm.
there. Again, he's not Anthony Richardson when he's blitzed, right? He still can make things happen. And that also doesn't take into account rushes, which is obviously a big part of how he makes plays work. But there is a way to, the Cardinals don't play as well when they're blitzed. They just don't.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a huge problem. So yeah, if they were able to get to him again, contain him, not let him use his legs to make big plays, I think Minnesota could kind of steamroll them. But we've seen this Arizona team kind of overcome a lot, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do it again, honestly.
And it'd be a huge win for them if they pull this because they're still okay. I think both them and the Seahawks are probably looking a little ahead to next week. But if you can pull this one off, I think you still really need that next week game. But just if you win the next two, you're essentially in the driver's seat the rest of the way.
Yeah, yeah. Any win's a good win, that's for sure. And this would be a huge win over a really good playoff team, without a doubt.
I also feel like I am to the Packers what you are to the Vikings. I think you're just a little bit I'm not so sure.
I just think I've seen too many, I think I've seen a little bit too much of a let up sometimes. I think the last few weeks it hasn't been as convincing, and it's just given me some trepidation. I still think it's a good team.
Yeah. Kyle, let's move on. You know what? I'm still not going to give you either of these 2-point spreads because there's another good game that I think I could see going either way. Eagles Ravens. What a matchup this one is. Two sort of teams trying to show that they're not just a B team in the conference, but the team of the conference. Eagles taking on the Ravens. Ravens are 3-point favorites at home. Who do you got?
Yeah, this is a really tough one. I am going to lean Philadelphia. I
Wow.
think it's really.
Yeah, surprise.
I'm
I mean, the Ravens are favorites. It's a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah, I'm leaning Philadelphia just because I think their defensive line has played so well, and I just think this is a different Ravens team if Derrick Henry isn't having the same success that he normally has. Now, granted, Derrick Henry is so good that he can have success against anybody. He is that good.
Mhm.
But from the play we've seen from Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, these linebackers, we've talked about them. We've shouted them out. Zach Bond, Kobe Dean have played really well. The edge guys, especially as well, too. Josh Sweat. I mean, you could go down the line. This entire front seven for the Eagles has made huge strides this season. I think they've played very well, and I think they're the huge catalyst to this winning streak on the defensive side, at least. Um, I just look at that group, and I think if they can slow down Derrick Henry enough, I think that they can have success because as good as the receivers for Baltimore have played this season, I think Philadelphia has good players in the secondary. I don't think it's going to be easy for them to just throw when they want to throw. I think it's going to be tough to throw on this team. And I think this Eagles defense has shown that they're a complete defense. I think it's going to be tough to attack. And I think they're going to slow down Baltimore just enough. And on the flip side, I don't trust Baltimore to slow down Philadelphia. So that's why I got Philadelphia winning.
We have I have some points, some rebuttals here, Kyle. But first, Alan kind of says it all in the chat. It's Lamar versus NFC easy win. Yeah, Kyle, that's a big thing going against you. Lamar Jackson, of course, only one career loss against the NFC in his career. Those odds aren't in your favor.
Well, look, that means that it's happened once before, so it can happen again.
Okay, yes, but I think we understand. Okay, fine. But here's the thing. I understand the logic of why you talk yourself into the Eagles because you're right. They're just way more of a complete roster than the Ravens are. But I just think you look at the Ravens and it's the kind of thing where you have, I don't know, the Eagles are like an A offense and like an A defense. The Ravens are an A plus offense and then like a D defense. So you think like, okay, well, obviously the Ravens should lose that game, but it's
Put the
like,
D in defense.
sure. But the Ravens, their offense just showed what they can do against the Chargers, which is it might not matter how good your defense is. They can, they might be able to roll over everybody. And if that can happen, it doesn't matter. The Eagles offense, which is still good, it isn't Ravens good. And I think that's the argument, along with just the NFC factor of why the Ravens are favored and why I would pick the Ravens to win.
Yeah, I mean, I get the whole argument because it's one of those things where, like I said, I think on their best day, Baltimore can beat anybody in the NFL. I really do. But they've also lost 4 times for a reason. And that's because the offense isn't delivering an A++ performance. And then all of a sudden, this team's very beatable at that point. So I do think it could go either way. I just think so. I agree with you. The Chargers defense they faced on Monday is a very good defense. It's performed like the best defense in the league for the majority of the season, all that kind of stuff. Do they have the same kind of playmakers on the inside as Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis?
Probably not. No, I think they're more of a built around depth there, but they do have a lot of very good players. They do have very good players on the defensive line.
Yeah, I just think that like if you're able to have game wreckers on the inside, you have a shot at least at containing Derrick Henry, And I think that's the big thing. It's just like I look at this team and say like I see the path to Philadelphia slowing down Baltimore more than I see the path to Baltimore slow down Philadelphia at this point.
Well, I mean, I guess I agree. I think you can easily come if you're looking at if I told you one of these teams only scores 17 points next week, obviously it's the Ravens to score to 17. If I tell you one of these teams scored 40 points, you're saying, obviously the Ravens scored 40.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I say all this and then, we can come back to this and Lamar Jackson's got 350 all-purpose yards and Derrick Henry had $120 and they dominate that. And yeah, I would look foolish. Absolutely. So, I think that there is an absolute case for that to go either way for me. This Ravens team is good, but like I said, I've just, they've had some inconsistent performances. And I think not only is it a team that's had some inconsistent performances, especially on defense, it's also a team that I think Philadelphia can match up with at times.
Yeah, I just think, I don't know. I get your point of like, if you catch the Ravens on an off day, you can beat them. I just feel like they're usually not on an off day. I think that's kind of where I get hung up on. I feel like usually you're getting the Ravens at their best. Like, yes, there have been these weird weeks. The Raiders game, which was a game that they dominated 3.5 quarters of that game and then, blew it. The Steelers are they're a weird team. They do have they lost to the Browns. That was a game they should have won. They also dropped 3 Jameis Winston interceptions in that game. Like, I get it. They are not consistent enough, but you're also just kind of famously a big Ravens hater.
Yeah, that fake Deflategate stuff, they can get out of here.
Yeah.
I will never respect the Ravens and the Colts. That's fine.
Yes, I like that at the end of just like, oh yeah, and also I don't like them. We should start saying that more.
Yeah. I mean this is my objective analysis. I don't like the franchise,
Mm-hmm.
Them and the Colts can go kick rocks, but I still look at them objectively. I picked the Colts. I locked the Colts this week.
Yes, well, because the picks matter most. I mean, this is where we make our money is our picks. If we don't do well enough in the picks, we would both get fired.
Yeah,
2 new people
exactly.
would come over and host a show.
Yeah, on your own YouTube channel.
Yes, exactly. I'll get fired from my YouTube channel.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I do think it can go either way. I'm looking forward to this game. I guess the one thing you could also say in favor of Baltimore, this team, despite the pass defense not being very good this season, in fact being horrible this season, they have defended the run really well. They're second in run EPA, and that could be a huge factor against Saquon Barkley, who is just continues to be a freak of nature. He's dominated, and yeah, that's a huge matchup too.
I just realized, how do we not talk about that? Yeah, the Saquon Barkley versus Derrick Henry, the 2 running backs on new teams. This is probably the 2 favorites in offensive player of the year this season. Kyle, I mean, this is the matchup.
Ben Simmons is the offensive rookie of the year.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, I mean that is really the matchup there. We're looking at those 2, and these 2 quarterbacks have played well this year too. So I think it's been very fun.
I think so. I think it's fair to say.
You don't have Jamar Chase in that conversation?
He's been very good. I'm not saying. I think you can put him into conversation if you want. I think these two are probably the favorites. I would assume, like
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson as well. There's other players, but yeah, I think those two.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I would. I don't know. Maybe not. I'm wrong. Never mind. Let's move on.
Key ran in the chat says an eligible receiver. Did that trigger you?
Um, no, that would trigger him if anything, because he was trying to. They were trying to get all those illegal formations all the time, and they lost because they didn't know the rules. So that's fine.
Okay, yeah, that's right. I forgot, got it mixed up. Let's move on. Kyle, give me a game.
Let's go to Rams at Saints.
Rams at Saints. Okay. Gotcha. Well, yeah, I think you figured out. I'm trying to lock up one of those two games. It's not happening at this point, so it's been an issue, unfortunately. I am picking the Rams to beat the Saints. The Rams are another team that they're frustrating because they feel like they should be better than what they are. I don't really know why, because they have they have really good offensive pieces, but their defense has been suspect, and their offensive line hasn't been very good either. So, there's a real way the Saints can pull off this upset. Saints, a team I think has looked a lot better since Carr has come back, with the exception of that loss to the Panthers, and maybe the Panthers aren't that bad. I don't know, but as a whole, I still think you have to pick the Rams here. To have everything to play for. I still think they're the better team. But if the Rams lose this, I'm not going to say it's over, because they could still win out and get in, but it's looking rough.
Yeah, it's a tough path from that point. I think I agree with everything you said. It's still one of those things where, when this Rams team's healthy, I just look at these two receivers and say, how do you slow this down? I think it's a big matchup problem for basically anyone in the league, and especially a defense that, traded its best corner in the middle of the year. I think that is a bit of an issue for them. Nakua has just come back from all those injuries and kind of hit the ground running again. So, yeah, I see the arguments for it. With the Rams too, I mean, with the Saints too, I just, I think when Derek Carr's played, this team's been very, pretty good. And Derek Carr has looked good since coming back from his injury as well. They're slowly starting to get some guys back. They're not going to get Chris Olave or Rashid Shaheed back, obviously, this week, mainly Chris Olave. And that's, there's still some issues at receiver, but they overcame a lot of that their last game too. So I think that they may be okay. I'm still leading the Rams, but I do think that there are some interesting aspects to it.
Yeah, and worth mentioning too, they beat the Browns last week, right? Who I'm not going to say is the not going to say they're the worst team in the league or anything like that, but they're not they're not the cream of the crop either, right?
Hey, Browns beat the Ravens and Steelers.
They did
Better
beat
than we expected.
That's true. That is fair. That game was also competitive for a while. I don't know. Do we see another Taysom Hill perform? Do we see a lot of Taysom Hill in this game?
I'm gonna guess no, but if I put the over under at Marquez Valdez Scantling 100 yards? Are you taking the over or under? After
Over easily. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
you can't stop that guy.
I mean, he's just he found his quarterback in first Devontae Adams wanted Derek Carr, and then Marquez Valdez Scantling went to him and has just changed his career. Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, those guys won't cut it.
Yes. Kyle, the Saints currently, I'm looking at their depth chart for the corners. They currently have Alante Taylor, who is their leading their corner leading in snaps. That he's played the most this season, despite being the 108th ranked corner out of 110 eligible corners. They have Kool-Aid McKinstry, who has played half the snaps so far this season. He's currently the 31st graded player. He was the guy that drafted in the second round. I was a big fan of him. I was his biggest fan, essentially. He's looked well when he's been out there. Is it time to give Kool-Aid McKinstry more playing time?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of those snaps also came down to Lattimore getting traded, and then who's the other guy they have? Adebo got hurt too. That was kind of their top two guys. Not having those guys, I think, is a bit of a difference in personnel. And yeah, I think that they should let Kool-Aid at this point get as many snaps as he can heading into next season, because it's him and Adebo next season.
Yeah, see what you got in him at the very least. See if you need to add another player. Yeah, I mean, it's a test for the Rams. They need to win this game. I think they do.
I think they do too. Yeah, like I said, I think there's too much mismatch there. Like you said, you just laid out. It's either a rookie corner or a very bad corner against Cooper Kupp and Puka Nakua. That's an issue.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on. Kyle, there's only 2 competitive games left, so I'm going to give you one of them, and you can decide if you want to give me the other one and let me lock it or not. I'm going to give you Chargers Falcons, which at a 1.5 point spread, some people might have locked this game up. I don't know, but you've already used your lock. Who do you have winning, Chargers or Falcons?
If I had a second lock, I'd use it now. I'm taking the Chargers. I've been on record. I think the Falcons are fraud watch. I don't think it's a bad team. I just don't think it's a very good team either. And I think the Chargers are still a good team despite, the Ravens kind of having their way with them. I think they respond this week. I think they get the Falcons in this one.
It's a surprising line, right? I mean, the
Hmm.
Chargers are only 1.5 point favorites to Atlanta. I guess the logic is like, well, I mean, I don't even. I guess it's just what we've seen from really good passing attacks with the Ravens and the Bengals, what they can do. The Falcons have shown flashes of being a really good passing attack, right? I mean, they have shown
Hmm.
flashes of being able to get rid of the ball quickly. If they can't get rid of the ball quickly, that's where the trouble arises. So that's kind of where the game is, in my opinion. I also just feel like Arda. I mean, do we expect any pass rush whatsoever in this game from Atlanta? We usually don't see any period, especially not in this game. I don't think.
Yeah. I mean, that's the big thing is like they could cover forever and the guys could still get open. Justin Herbert's done very well with his legs too. Since he's kind of bounced back from that ankle thing. I think a lot of this is coming down to a team coming off a bye against a team coming off a Monday night game. That would be my guess. And I think there's logic to it. But I think based on what we've seen, at least in recent weeks, I would say in the last 5 weeks, like I I think you would have to say the Chargers look significantly better than the Falcons. Like the Falcons' most impressive win in that stretch is the Tampa win, and then outside of that, it hasn't really been that impressive. And even in that Tampa game, like Tampa was dropping bodies left and right. They had no receivers left. It was not the same Tampa that we've seen at their very best, and they didn't look all that convincing in that game either. So, yeah, I don't know. I just think I based on what we've seen these teams the last 4 or 5 weeks, I think one team looks significantly better, but I think the scheduling is probably what's favoring the Falcons here.
I guess so. I don't know. I feel like that's a weak reason. I mean, if that's the reason, pound the Chargers here.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't know what else it would be. One team can rush the passer. One team has good coverage. The other team cannot rush the passer. Justin Herbert could have an hour to throw. He may use the whole clock waiting to throw one
Yeah,
time.
if they get up, just take a snap and just let the clock run out by standing.
Yeah. And then he'll throw it up to Quentin Johnson, who will drop the ball. But, that's neither here or there.
Right. Yeah. What is it about somebody like Christian Watson? We talked about him too. Why do some guys just not? Why didn't I don't? Because clearly, physically, you can catch. Like it's just that weird thing where like some guys just like mentally they just won't like their hands won't refuse to catch the ball sometimes.
Hmm. Yeah. I don't get it either. But, and then not to mention, it's like, not only is it a tough, like bad defensive line, bad pass rush, but you're also looking at this Rashawn Slater, Joe Walt, Zion Johnson, Trey Pipkins, Bradley Bozeman group. And
Yeah.
that's a good offensive line too. Like that's really tough to rush the passer on. So I don't really see the matchup advantages here for Atlanta, unless you think like Drake London and Darnell Mooney can get open quickly, like you said, or I just don't know. I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't know either. Be a huge win for Atlanta if they can win this. They're probably winning the division. They need to rack up one of these upset games. We'll see if they can do it. Let's move on, Kyle. Time for you to give me a game.
Uh, Niners at Bills.
Okay. Yes. This was second next on my list. You know which one was next. I'm picking the Bills obviously to win this game. I do think there is upset potential.
Mhm.
I did have this kind of as my highest game in the games where I'm pretty sure they're going to go one way because I do feel like the Niners, if they can, you still feel like they could potentially be that team from last year, right? Like they haven't shown it hardly at all this year, except when they were playing the Jets. Jets, that's a team we could talk about at some point. I don't know. But I do feel like you can see it, but it's just how do you bet against the Bills right now? Again, can Shanahan scheme something up against this Bills defense? I don't think it's impossible, but I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah. Um, There's just a lot still going against San Francisco. We still don't know if we're even going to get Brock Purdy and Trent Williams in this game.
Mhm.
Trent Williams did not practice. Brock Purdy was a limited participant. Um, and then I just think overall, like, if we're not getting the like production out of this receiving group that we expect on a week to week basis, I just can't see it. Like I said, I think the biggest red flag for me last week was like Brandon Allen came into that game as the starter, and I don't think Brandon Allen was the worst player in the offense. Like I think there were just so many issues with that offense. I, you know, is Debo Samuel washed? Like I think that's a big question to have right now. I'm giving McCaffrey the pass as he's ramping up, and I don't actually think he's been that bad either. He's just rusty. So McCaffrey's ramping up. You have George Kittle, but George Kittle, is not a guy who can always take over a game at his position. So I just look at this team and it's just not very explosive anymore. And, you know, if it's Brandon Allen, I'd probably take Bills minus 6.5. And if it's Brock Purdy, I might still take Bills minus 6.5 at this point.
Yeah, I get it. I think I would take Bills 6.5. Although I think it's possible. Samuel's interesting. I was looking up his contract, so he's due 15 million. That's his cap hit next year, but then he has a void year of 33 million the following year. If they cut him, it's 31 million. They're in a weird situation where, like, do you cut him? They probably restructure that, I would assume, right? But
Hmm.
that's an interesting situation.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, it's not looking great. Like,
Hmm.
I think the time to trade him was last season too, so you're probably not getting that sort of deal done. I don't think he hasn't been terrible is the thing. He just hasn't been the guy they're paying him for. They're paying for a top of the line receiver, and I just don't think he's that. And he hasn't performed like it this season at least. So I just think there's too many issues there. I mean, there's also a litany of injuries on this defensive side too. Nick Bosa didn't play last week, and he didn't practice Wednesday again. And if all these bodies aren't ready for 49ers, then this game's a wrap before it starts.
Yeah. Yeah. It's could there be any chance of a letdown week for the Bills?
Sure. I definitely think it can happen, but at the same time, like this team still has a lot to play for. They're coming off a bye too, so they should be fresh. And this team still has to make a march on their one seed. They still need to make up a game to get that one seed. I don't think they can, they have one big game it feels like left on their schedule. They have to take care of business and everything else.
Yeah. Well, let's move on. Kyle, give me a game. Or no, sorry. This is you gave me that game. I'm giving you a game. I'm going to give you my team, Bucks at Panthers.
Yeah. There's been a lot of Panthers hypes the last few weeks. I do feel
Hmm.
good that they played a lot better. Um, and that is something that was needed. I do like Dave Canales. I think he's done a good job of throughout the season. Like I think the in-season adjustment, that was my argument for Matt LaFleur last year and what he did with that team. I think Canales has done a pretty good job with in-season adjustment, although it could not have started worse for this team, to be fair. But I think he's done a very good job of it, kind of righting the ship with this team and playing some competitive games lately. They have looked very competitive. I just don't see it. I don't see them winning this one. I got Tampa Bay winning this. I think with Tampa Bay, with a lot of its pieces, obviously they're not getting Chris Godwin back on the field, but with Mike Evans back on the field, with a few of these guys back on defense, with Jamel Dean back on the field, with Zion McCollum back on the field, I think that's still too much to overcome. So give me Tampa.
Keyran in the chat says, "Is Baker cooking?" He's baking. Keyran, come on, you got to get it right. Yeah, but so first off, Dave Canales has done what I always say coaches need to do, which is you go in first few weeks, make sure your team is as bad as possible, make them look absolutely horrible, because then everyone will say, "Well, the team just stinks." Then all you have to do is get to decent, and everyone's gonna say, "What a job by you! Incredible stuff. You're only losing games by a little. What an impressive run." Although I do agree, he has been impressive. Kyle, I'm nervous about this game. I just am. Bryce Young's looked better. I mean, they almost beat the Chiefs. Granted, every team almost beats the Chiefs, but still, they almost beat the Chiefs. I think what you have to look at is this Panthers defense, who, I think JC Horn's starting to play better, like has changed his team, but like
Mm-hmm.
this is not a dominant. It's a defense that's been bad. It's a defense that's been bad this season. If the Tampa Bay can do what we expect them to do, which is dominate the Panthers defense, this shouldn't be a factor. But like, if there's a turnover in there or if something goes wrong, the Buccaneers defense is healthy, at least in the secondary now, although they did lose Whitehead, but their corners are healthy. You think the defense should be better, but we've also seen this defense look horrible. I mean, this would just be an awful loss. If they lose this, season's over. I mean, they need to win these. Out of the three close games, the Giants, the Panthers, and the Raiders, the Buccaneers playing the stretch, this feels like the biggest one that could go the wrong way.
Yeah, especially just the way the last 3 weeks the Panthers have competed. I think it is a huge thing, but I just look at the team Tampa played showed last week, and I just think it's going to be really hard for the Panthers to overcome it all. There are things that they have done a lot better. Like you said, the defense has gotten better, especially the pass defense. It's looked more competitive, but this is still the second worst run defense in the NFL right now. I mean, there's a huge gap between them and Jacksonville, to be fair. But or sorry, no, huge gap between them and Dallas. Pass defense is just as bad anyways. But anyway, so there's still a huge gap there. But like, I don't know. I look at Tampa Bay just being able to trot out these 3 running backs and all of them be pretty productive. I just think is a huge tip of their cap. Like, I want Bucky Irving involved in this game. I want him to get plenty of touches, and I think he should be able to be enough in this game. And then you take your shots with Mike Evans when you can.
Yeah, I agree. Are we worried at all about Mike Evans needs to average essentially 100 yards each game the rest of the way to get to 1,000? I'm not sure it's going to happen, especially when he's getting double teamed every play because he's easily their best receiver.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, but maybe it'll happen. Maybe he has a big game in this one. But I also think part of the problem with Tampa for our opposing teams is we've seen Cade Otton step up in spots. We've seen these 3 running backs step up in spots. It's not necessarily a take away Mike Evans and win thing.
Yeah, I agree. Also, Dave Canales' revenge game. That's the best revenge game. Is he went there for 1 year, then got a head coaching job the next year. Really, but he's fired up to play his old team.
Yeah, that is the revenge of taking a multi-million-dollar job. You got him.
Yeah, a great opportunity that allowed you to then get generational wealth. That's the revenge.
Yeah, once in a lifetime opportunity. I'll show them.
Kyle, give me a game.
Yeah, I'll do it now. Seahawks and Jets.
Okay, thank God. I was starting to wonder if we're gonna have to lock up a different game here because I was thinking okay, this game or Chargers Falcons. I'm just gonna lock up whichever one, and then you found out that I was gonna do that, and you didn't give me either. Okay, finally, yes, I'm locking up the Seahawks, which I've done before. I've locked up against the Jets when the Texans were playing them. That didn't go well. I still feel like the logic is sound here. The Jets are in such turmoil this season. The Seahawks, who are quietly the hottest team in football these past 2 weeks. I mean, 2 massive wins, and they need this win. There is the potential of do you get the the March Madness style letdown after you win the close game, but it wasn't really close last week. They just kind of dominated Arizona. This defense is playing so well right now, Seattle. At least the past few weeks it has been. I just don't trust the Jets. Just end of sentence. That's it. I don't trust the Jets.
Yeah. No, it's the right play. I agree with you. The Seahawks defense the last couple of weeks has kind of, played lights out football basically since they got blitzed by that in that Buffalo game. I really think this defense has played lights out. I think they've been awesome. Leonard Williams has been a huge part of the success. Devin Witherspoon has been another huge part of the success. And they're really just getting after quarterbacks, it seems like, at that point, causing pressure, creating turnovers. That was basically the biggest play of that game, and the Cardinals won. So I do like what this defense is doing. It's a lot easier to get after Aaron Rodgers than it is Kyler Murray. He's a bit of a statue back there. So, I think the one thing is can Aaron Rodgers and his Aaron Rodgers-ness, he has seen so much football. He has been involved in so much football. Is he able to read this game at the line of scrimmage in a way that other quarterbacks haven't the last few weeks that Seattle have played, and just kind of pick them apart on their blitzes, on their pressure, get the ball out quickly? I think that's going to be the biggest hurdle to overcome. But that being said, I can't trust this Jets team. The defense hasn't been that good. The offense obviously hasn't been very good. And Seattle is a team that's gunning for a playoff spot right now.
Yeah. Key ran with a chat I liked. Who knew Jackson was right about Zach Wilson? He did end up better than Rodgers. Yeah, I nailed it. There you go. Kyle, and another thing too is I remember when the Seahawks traded for Leonard Williams, I think there was some talk of is that really the guy you go out and trade for? I think they gave up a 2nd round pick, if I remember correctly. There was other players that were maybe people thought were a little better. I think Montez Sweat also went there. Leonard Williams has been unreal for them this year.
Yeah, no, he really has. He was a game wrecker last week too. So having him in that lineup, I think is just going to go a long way. And yeah, I mean, he really has been very good.
And I got, your guy, Geno Smith. Yeah, I don't get this line. Explain this line to me, Kyle. I'm going to play the game that I'm playing now a lot of explain the line. Why are the Jets only 1.5 point underdogs here?
Um, on paper talent.
I guess, but I mean, has that ship not sailed yet?
I mean, maybe, but at the same time, like I think you just look at it like you said, there are probably times where you bet against the Jets and like the Texans game, came through because there is enough on paper talent there. Uh, I think that's probably what they're looking at, but I still think there are too many issues. Like I said, this Jets defense is 15th in defensive EPA on dropbacks, which is just insane based on what this team was this like last season or like in general, and like I don't know. You look at a guy like what's the guy's name? The slot guy is Michael Carter II, and he just has not been very good this season. Has not been the same level of player, and he's got to go against Jackson Smith and Jigba, who's been a top 10 receiver this season. Like he is just such a matchup problem. It feels like for that spot, and he's just going to attack the slot the entire game.
How annoying is it that Aaron Rodgers we're doing this again with he's yeah, a report comes out that says he wants to leave, then he says actually I'm not sure if I'm going to leave play next year or not. The Jets are my preferred destination. It was so nice. There was that blissful last month of not having to think about what Aaron Rodgers is going to do. He was completely out of my mind, and now he's back. It always happens, Kyle.
Yeah. He's going to end up on the Vikings. I mean, I don't know why we have to debate this. We know where he's going. He's going to Minnesota next season.
I listened
Everyone
to
just got to accept it.
I listened to the clip just because it's my job to know what's going on in football. So I played a clip, and he says like, "Yeah, I don't want to leave," and then immediately gets into, and here's why the COVID vaccine is wrong. I'm like, okay, I gotta get out of here. This is can't do this again.
Yeah, I can't believe he still gets airtime on that show. Honestly, like, is he gonna apologize to Diana Rossini when he does leave the Jets? Is that I know that's not gonna happen. By basically calling it a fake report. But yeah, I mean he's gonna end up on the Vikings. Like I don't, it's happening. Just
Okay,
accept it.
I'm looking forward to it. Just make sure maybe any reporters don't give them your phone number. Might be a good idea if it follows the Brett Favre thing.
That'd probably be a good idea.
Yeah, all right. Kyle, let's move on. Time for me to give you a game. We covered that game nicely. Let's go to I'm gonna give you Browns Broncos.
Yeah. I do think this is the right play. Give me the Broncos. Not happening twice in a row. The curse of Jameis Winston is it does not strike twice.
Mhm.
Twice in a row. It can't happen twice in a season. So I'm just not buying into it. I think that the Broncos are a better team, and I'm still evaluating the Broncos like they're a good team because I think they are a good team. And I'm evaluating the Browns like a team that has talent, but not enough talent, I think, to overcome it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I'm giving it to you because the Browns are. I get what you're saying about doesn't strike twice in a row. Sometimes it does. I mean, you could never know. The Jameis Winston, you're flipping a coin. You don't know what's going to happen. And I agree. The Broncos are a much better team. I think I would like the Broncos, favored in this one. I would take them -5.5. There were games that were higher spreads that went earlier in this show for a good reason. But yeah, I mean, it's the Jameis Winston factor. I don't like picking volatile quarterbacks. I like to give them to you. That's what's giving me the lead, is giving you as many of these games as possible. You gave me the Browns last week. It was a good move. I'm doing the same to you here.
Yeah, and he's had some explosive games this season, and I think one of the guys that should be shouted out for this Browns team too is Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah.
I think the last 4 weeks he actually has played really, really some of the best ball of his career. Honestly, he's starting to look a lot more like the guy we kind of wanted him to be. He had 6 catches on 6 targets last week in the snow, which isn't easy, and had a big game before that too against New Orleans in the loss. So he is a big factor in this one. Can he continue to have that success? Because I do think at this point, what we've seen, he is kind of the driving mover of this offense right now with his ability to make plays downfield. He's going against a tough secondary, though, and he's going against an even tougher matchup in Pat Surtain. That is a tough ask, I think, still. Even though he's played well, he's going up against maybe the best corner in football, one of the best corners in football. He's in the conversation for sure, and I think that's just going to be a really tough thing if they're able to contain him.
Yeah, probably. I think I agree. It is an interesting matchup, but I just feel like there's too much firepower for Denver. I'm with you. I think they win.
Yeah, and Bo Nix continue to play well. I think that's a huge part of it. He's making the right reads. He's not making a lot of mistakes. He's making the right throws. Can a guy like Myles Garrett change that kind of aspect? Possibly. But I think the guys in the secondary for Cleveland, while they did some last week, they got to be able to make plays in this one, and we haven't seen it consistently enough.
Yeah. Also, I didn't realize you had brought up like Bo Nix. Like, is he offensive rookie of the year now? I kind of laughed it off. That's like a real like. I heard one show people have said like, well, Bo Nix is clearly the offensive rookie of the year now. Like they just said it like even. It's like I didn't realize it's a thing now.
Yeah, it's happening. The Nixissance.
I think he's been very. I mean, the thing is, like, every year this happens where there's a quarterback who I think is a good quarterback, but also is in a good situation that kind of makes them look a little better than I think they are. I say that, and then everyone just calls me a hater. But like, and then they'll be like, "But look at his passer rating." I'm like, "Yes, I know his passer rating is good. I agree, but this is my evaluation. I'm not going to change my mind just because his passer rating is good." But also,
is he in that good of a situation outside of having Sean Payton?
I think so. Yes, I think a lot of these games have been. I think he's had a lot of games that have worked out well for him. I think that I agree. I think again, this is where things get weird, where it's like I become a hater. I think he's been really good. I think he's been a key part of why the Broncos have been very good. But I think his main skill set is he makes the right read and puts the ball in the right spot consistently. I don't think he's someone who like the Broncos offense is still built around let's give him a throw that we can, that he could relatively easy play. It's not like let's just hope Bo Nix makes something happen. It's not what we see with the Rams and Stafford of like he is so much of that team.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Do you think Jameis Winston will get someone to jump off sides this week?
Yes.
That was a great clip. That's an iconic moment. That's a top 5 moment for me.
He had a ton of great moments that week with the his like pregame speech. Jameis Winston, what a character.
The smiling with the snow. I mean, his look of pure joy. That was so funny. What a guy.
He's got to be on the Colts radar, right?
He's gonna get a chance to play. I mean, why can't the Browns play him next year? They're gonna sign another Browns quarterback.
Watson's gonna play. He's gonna be back.
Okay, so if you can sign Jameis Winston to a decent deal
and
just start him, why not just do it?
They should, but again, I just don't trust this Browns team to do anything. No. And why would Jameis Winston want to stay there if he can get a starting job in it? Like if Jameis, okay, I think the Colts are going to go with Richardson next year. If Jameis can get that job, I think he would rather have that job.
That's true, but I think his best chance to start might be Cleveland.
Maybe, but does he want? I think Jameis has been very strategic in where he's picked his teams. Right, he's signed as a backup for the Saints instead of being a starter for the Dolphins when the Dolphins were horrible. Like I don't think he's gonna go to a bad situation just to start. And the Browns are kind of a bad situation. I guess he kind of did that here, but I feel like he's going to be a little bit more strategic.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I could see it happening.
Yeah. Well, let's move on. Why don't we, Kyle? Give me a game.
Yeah, my turn. Let's do Titans at Balls.
Yeah, a good one. I think that this wasn't next on my list, but it probably should have been. Thinking about it now, I think that the Washington just hasn't played well these past couple of weeks. They just lost to a bad team. So like we can sit here and say the Titans aren't very good. Hey, they've won more recently than the Balls have, right? So you have that. I do think that both games last week were kind of anomalies. I think Washington should win this game. I do think Levis has started to play better. That's cool to see. But like, I don't know if it's going to be enough. I guess the one way you look at, and the reason why you have to give the Titans at least a puncher's chance is, can they throw the ball down the field? We have seen Washington struggle with that this season. Could Levis take advantage?
Yeah. I said it's a Nixissance. It's literally the Levisance. This guy has played, competitively the last few weeks. I think having these receiving options kind of come alive has been a big thing. Calvin Ridley's another guy kind of, similar to Jerry Jeudy, had some up and down start to his career. He's played really well the last few weeks. I think he's been a huge part of this offense. And then, Nick Westbrook-Ikine has been like a human highlight reel, it feels like at this point. It feels like he has a big catch every week now. So they have those guys. They have Okonkwo. They've done some things really well with their receiver room to try and overcome this offensive line issue. And, this isn't a Washington group on the defensive line you would say is like aggressive. It's not like they're going to get a ton of pressure. So maybe Tennessee has some opportunities on offense in this one. I just don't know if I still don't think it's going to be enough either. I still think Washington is a better team, top to bottom, and they should get it done.
Yeah, I think the one thing you look at too is like the Titans have had a pretty good defense this year. I think their overall numbers are kind of mediocre, but a big part of that is due to just the situation they've been in at times, giving having short fields and things of that nature. Especially that Detroit game is skewing some data, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I think Titans have played defensively pretty well, and for Washington, I want to see a Jaden. As much as again, to be clear, my Bo Nix take is not, I think Bo Nix is a bad quarterback. Bo Nix has been an incredible rookie quarterback. I think that Jaden Daniels, he's in the MVP discussion for me. He's been that good of a player this year. He hasn't been that way these past couple games. And that's just the thing that you look at. I want to see Daniels look like Jaden Daniels again.
Yeah. Joseph asked, did we do Lions Bears yet? No, that's probably going to be last. Perks of having a good
might
team.
have a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with what you're saying. I do think Jaden Daniels is still the rookie of the year, but on their current trajectories, it's not crazy to say by week 18 Bo Nix might catch him, but it's still a long way to go, and it's still going to take a lot of really good performances compared to subpar performances from Jaden Daniels. And largely we've seen 2 subpar performances. So I think for the most part, we're still expecting Jaden Daniels to be that guy. But we do want to see more explosive plays in this one. Like you said, this Tennessee defense is tough, but I still think that they're more talented on offense.
Yeah, here. Bo Nix has been the rookie of November.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's a fair take.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, that I agree with. It's always tough because the people. You do this to me, Kyle. You set me up because you say, "Oh, do you think this question that you also don't believe? You also aren't saying Bo Nix should be rookie of the year," and then people get mad at me because I give my opinions too strongly. Yeah, but
I'm just sparking conversation, man. I just want to keep the conversation juices flowing.
Yeah. I would also say with Daniels too. Part of it is the Steelers, which I still thought they played all right in that game. I know the overall numbers weren't great. And then the Eagles and then the Cowboys is kind of the one you look at and say, that was actually a bad game. You should have dominated there. You can win this one. You get back on track. It's a sort of a get-right game for the Commanders, but they gotta win it.
Yeah, gotta win. You want to stay in contention. You want to stay above the line there. 7-5. All of a sudden you're looking over your back shoulder, not just for division anymore. You're looking at it, or it was just for the division. You've lost a division opportunity, but now you're looking over your shoulder just to make the playoffs. So you got to close here strong.
K-Ran says that you're controlling me until I give you more donation money. Is that the plan? That's the elaborate plan?
Yeah, I'm not sure how that's going to pay off for me in the end, but
we'll see.
I guess there's a strategy
because
there.
You haven't told me that at all, so it doesn't make it. It's not a good ransom if you just kidnap someone and then don't tell them that the rich person that you kidnapped them.
Yeah, that's a tough move for me. I agree.
Okay, 3 games left to talk about. I'm giving you a game that. It's unbelievable this line is only 4.5, but I kind of get it given how Houston has played. The Texans are just 4.5-point favorites against the Jaguars. The Jaguars team that is so bad. Last week, a commenter talked about how bad they were, despite the fact that they didn't play last week. Kyle, who do you have winning this game? Do the Texans finally get back here?
Yeah, Texans are going to bounce back in this game. Joe Mixon might have 200 yards in this game, so I got the Texans winning. I got them winning comfortably. I just don't know how you can get excited about this Jaguars team when they don't have their quarterback, especially.
It's hard to get excited about them when they do have their quarterback.
Exactly. So it's even worse. This team has looked putrid, I think, the last few weeks. And then they had a bye week. So, their best thing that happened to them was a bye week. So,
yeah.
If Trevor Lawrence is not out there, I think this is a huge loss. And then if Trevor Lawrence is out there, it's still probably a loss.
I guess there's maybe some talk that Lawrence could play. Why are they not shutting him down for the year?
Well, that's the thing. So someone said he's limited participant, but also they could do surgery. So
right.
I don't know what that means. So it's either you're out for the year or you're playing Sunday. That seems like the weirdest either or.
Yeah.
Either you're too injured to play for the rest of the season or you will play this week. There's no like, I don't get that.
Unfortunately, the team doctor for the Jaguars are actually just the guy who ran the fastest 40 time out of the doctors. So that's why they're having some struggles there.
Yeah, he's got great length, that the physical attributes are too much to overlook here. Uh may have worked with Tyrod Taylor too, I think, at this point, given that medical diagnosis. I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, so he's either, losing the limb this week or he's playing this week. We'll see what happens. Um yeah, I just don't know. I think I think it's still too much to overcome. This defense has just been horrible. The run defense has been a disaster. And Joe Mixon's, you know, when Nico Collins missing time, Joe Mixon's probably been the best offensive player on this team,
Hmm.
and I think that's a huge thing. So I think he's going to be able to have a lot of success in this game. Never mind these pass rushers getting after Jacksonville. So yeah, I think it's going to be a big Texans win.
Yeah, it's a huge get right game for Houston. I mean, because we weirdly talked a lot about Jacksonville in this preview, which is more than I want to talk about Jacksonville at all this season. But I mean, for Texans, like this is it, right? Like you have to win. Like they have such an easy track to win the division. It's one of the worst. It's one of the worst bottom three teams in a division we've seen in quite some time. All you have to do is win this game and beat the Titans the final game of the season. You can lose the other three, you're fine. But like they have to win this game.
Yeah. Yeah, they have to take care of their divisional matchups, and they should. I think they should. I think that Titans game did not look good at times. They have to right the ship here, or else this is embarrassing at this point.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. And it is, they did blow out the Cowboys just a couple weeks ago, so it's not like they haven't been able to take care of business. But got to make sure to do it again here. Kyle, 2 games left. Time for you to give me one, and then you teased earlier the Bears might be the last game we're talking about. Is that the case?
No, let's bring Joseph in here, aka Broseph. Let's do Bears at Lions.
Yeah, I agree. This is also second last on my list, so we're very high on the Bears. I mean, I don't know. Okay, so I'm picking the Lions to win. Obviously, is there a potential that the Lions can pull something off, or the Bears can pull something off here? I think you look at it, and it's like if the defense for the Bears has been very good. I'm trying to paint the narrative, right? Trying to come up with the plan. The defense for the Bears has played well this season. The Lions offense, okay, it's very good, but like, can you get some turnovers? Last year there was a game where Jared Goff threw 3 turnovers against the Bears. They won that game, but still, you got the 3 turnovers. A lot of guys are there? Can you win the turnover battle? And can we get a good Caleb Williams performance against a team that doesn't pass rush very well in the Detroit Lions? Figured something out here, Kyle. But that's a good point, right? The Bears offensive line hasn't been great. The Lions don't rush the passer very well. There you go. That's your pathway. I found it.
Yeah, that was about a minute longer than it needed to be.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there is an opportunity for some turnover factor here. Jared Goff against a good defense, that is possible. However, I'm not betting on it. I do think the Lions win this one because the Bears have been competitive the last 2 weeks, but they've also lost both of those games, and I don't really see them being as competitive in this game. So yeah, I do think there is a thing where like Caleb Williams has played better. If he continues to hit those quick passes, quick in rhythm offense, I think the Bears have looked very good when they've been able to do that in the weeks that they've looked successful. So there's the argument there. But that being said, there's still way too much talent on this Lions team, even with a number of guys injured. As Zaquas says, Decker and Carlton Davis out. I know there's a thing about David Montgomery and Amon-Ra St. Brown being limited participants in practice. They are questionable. So those are a couple of different factors to it. But I still think there's enough juice here in Detroit to get this done. And, they still have to win these games because, once again, they got to hold off for the conference.
Yeah.
And the division.
Here we go, Kyle. Last year, we saw the Green Bay Packers with a quarterback playing in his first season, a team that at Thanksgiving we were not looking at as a playoff team. They upset the Detroit Lions, were able to win that game, go on a run, and make the playoffs. Have this really great run. Can the Bears do the same here?
I'm gonna guess no.
No, maybe not. But I don't know. Keep it competitive. If you're a Bears fan, you're I guess like how all of us are. Like, can you get 3 quarters out of this?
Yeah. If Caleb Williams plays well, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
And you know, if Caleb Williams plays well, I think it's going to be. I'd take Bears plus 10.5, but I wouldn't pick them to win.
Possibly. I mean, the Bears have played well these past couple weeks. Caleb Williams has played well these past couple weeks. It's
Yeah,
a big matchup. It's a tough team, but still.
yeah. I mean, we've seen the case for it. They've had those moments, so I definitely think it's a possibility. But it's still, this is a whole nother animal. This is the best team in football.
Yeah, probably so. Kyle, the team that is we went from who you just said is the best team in football to the team that has been the best team in football over the past few years, the Kansas City Chiefs, taking on the Raiders, who, we keep talking about how the Raiders have like played the Chiefs tough lately. When's the last time they've actually won? I feel like we still just remember that John Gruden win like 5 years ago. Who do you have winning, Raiders or Chiefs? I guess last year too they won, but still.
Yeah. So Antonio Pierce called this the best team in football against the worst team in football. That is the Raiders head coach saying that.
I
So
missed
that
that.
does, yeah, that is not giving me a good chance to. That is not giving me a lot of belief in the Raiders are geared up to win this game. I think they're watching more Shedeur Sanders highlights than their own highlights, and so yeah, I think the Chiefs are going to win this one.
Well, one's a lot longer. One highlight video is a lot longer than the other.
Yeah. Have you watched Colorado at all during this whole Dion thing?
Not really.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. There's a lot of talk about it. It seems like it's the worst kept secret that the Raiders want Shedeur, the quarterback, and seems like they're gonna go for it.
Gotcha. Could it get Deion Sanders too as the head coach? That fits, right?
I don't think it's a crazy take, but at the same time, I don't know, man. Like, because I've seen this thing too floated out with Dion as a head coach for the Cowboys, candidate for the Cowboys. I think the biggest problem I have with the idea of it, if I'm going to take this question seriously, is like, I think Deion Sanders' biggest thing, his strength right now, is how he resonates with kids and his ability to recruit off of that. I think that's what he's been able to do. They just got the number 2 quarterback in the country, high school class 2025, just like a weekend or two ago. He's the number 2 player in the country ranked, and he's a good quarterback. They got him to commit. I think like his in-game management, I don't think is awesome. The way he uses timeouts is pretty poor sometimes. And I mean, he's hired good coordinators on the offensive side of the ball. I think that's been a huge thing. He hasn't hired good coordinators on the defensive side of the ball. I just don't think he's naturally an X's and O's guy. I don't expect Deion Sanders to be an X's and O's guy. So if you're going to take the recruiting element away from Deion Sanders, I just don't know what strength he has as a coach outside of, good press conferences.
Gotcha. Moving on. Sorry, I derailed us. Getting back to the Chiefs Raiders. I mean, I think again the Max Crosby thing. I mean, the reason why the Raiders have kind of played the Chiefs tough, although they played earlier, the game didn't go particularly well. The Raiders had a score late to make it a 1-score game, but the Chiefs the Raiders had a chance in that game, but ultimately the Chiefs were the better team. But the Raiders can rush the passer well. They're not afraid to hit Mahomes when they get there. That's something that's part of their philosophy. Like they have the right game plan of how to beat the Chiefs. They just don't really have the skill set. But can they make this competitive? This is also a Friday game. I mean, what are we doing with the Friday and Thursday games? I mean, there's one good game here.
Yeah, the NFL just wanted to take over the world and take over every day of the week. It's starting to drive me a little crazy, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to take over the week, that's fine. Just put like good games on every week.
Right.
The
no
only
one's complaining if the 49, I guess that's the Eagles Ravens is on Friday. No one's complaining.
Yeah, although the Ravens might because they played Monday night.
Yes, well that'll be tough.
Yeah.
Okay, but you get the idea.
Yeah. So the only reason this matters, and the only reason that's going to be, I might take the Raiders plus 12.5, honestly, is because the Chiefs don't blow anybody out. We've seen that now established several times. Have they beat anybody by more than 10 this season? I don't think they have. I closed all my notes because I didn't feel like I needed to, break down this game too tough.
The one note you had was the Antonio Pierce quote.
Yeah, that was basically it. So yeah, I think I just look at that and say it's a they don't blow anybody out. I don't know if they've beaten anybody by more than 10 this season. And then the second part is like the reason why these two teams play close games is because this is the Raiders Super Bowl every season is
Right.
playing Kansas City twice. They have 2 Super Bowls a year. It's just playing this team. Until this team gets more competitive, this is still going to be their Super Bowl. So yeah, I think that's why this game will be closer than 12.5.
Yes. I was looking at it. So the Chiefs beat the Saints 26-13 this season. So they've had one game where they've covered a 12.5 point spread this season.
And the funny thing is, I don't even think the Saints played that bad in that game.
No, that was one of the closer games. That was actually, yeah. I think it got away from them at the end.
Yeah, although Mahomes did play awesome in that game, so I get it. But yeah, I mean that's the thing is like the argument against it is like the Chiefs, the Raiders have kind of been dead even since that last Kansas City game. Basically, they haven't looked at anything to look forward to, and like I don't know, the Chiefs' offense has been really good.
Yeah. All right, Kyle. Bit of a long show. We had so much to get to, but we got through it. I'll let you go so you can. I don't know. Do you have anything you have to make?
I'm making turkey tomorrow, so I just got to do that.
Gotcha. Well, Kyle, let them know where they can find us on Twitter before we head out.
Yep, make sure to follow him. That is at Jackson Kruger. Make sure to follow me at by Kyle Gronin, and make sure to follow the account page at On the Sideline JK. That is at On the Sideline JK.
Of course, if you like audio only podcast, anywhere you get your podcast, just search On the Sideline Podcast. We are available there. And if you found us through the podcast feed, check out the YouTube channel. Jackson Kruger Sports is the name of it. Yeah. Kieran says we gotta talk Swayman.
He's been bad. So is the defense. So we stink.
Lightning looked pretty good, and Stamkos doesn't look that good anymore. I feel bad for him, but glad we didn't give him an 8-year deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to talk hockey. I don't like hockey.
Okay. Gotcha.
The real story of today is America is taking over world soccer. Malik Tillman with 2 goals and also Ricardo Pepi with the winner. America's taken over the world's game. Everybody else.
His name is Pepi?
It. Ricardo Pepi. Yeah.
That's a funny name.
Yeah, he's pretty good though.
Okay. All right. Well, Kyle, that is our show. Thank you to everybody for watching. I know it's I think there's a lot less people watching around this time of year, but the people that are watching are very thankful for it. I think that there's a lot of people stuck on vacation, desperate for any kind of entertainment on their phones right now watching us.
Yeah. We are ready to provide the entertainment. I wouldn't dance for you or anything, but we're ready to provide the entertainment for sure.
Yes. Okay. Thank you to everybody for watching. We do appreciate it. We hope you have a happy Thanksgiving. I guess some people in Canada are just like, stop talking about Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I mean, you're dealing with our traditions here. This is a American football channel.
Yes.
If you want Canadian football, find another show.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm just kidding.
No, please, we appreciate all of you as well. But yeah, thank you, everybody. We do appreciate it. Until next time, have a good one.
Peace.